This is the Ted Woloshyn Podcast. Brought to you by Tom's Place. For the finest in men's clothing at unbeatable prices, it's Tom's Place at 190 Baldwin in the heart of Kensington Market. Tom's Place will suit you. And Halenda's, the meat people. Enjoy their award-winning products at selected Metro, Sobeys, Fortino's, and Foodland locations. Halenda's, the way sausage should taste. And now, here's Ted with singer-songwriter Jann Arden.
Jann Arden is my very special guest this week. She is a 9-time Juno Award winner. She has recorded 15 LPs/CDs, including 19 top 10 singles. She's a Gemini Award winner, 10 times SOCAN Award winner, 4 times Western Canada Music Award winner, and a 3-time Prairie Music Award winner. In addition, Jann is author of several critically acclaimed books and the best-selling memoir, Falling Backward. But wait, she is But wait, there's more.
Oh, there's more.
Yeah, Jann Arden is a Queen's Diamond Jubilee member, a member of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, a member of the Order of Canada, Canada's Walk of Fame as well. She has just completed her 3rd season of her television show, Jann, on CTV. She hosts a podcast called the Jann Arden Podcast.
Oh, my God. Shooter.
Caitlin Green and Adam Karsh. And recently released her 15th studio album titled, I should say, Descendant. And that's all the time we have this week.
That's all the time we have.
Hello, Jann Arden. How are you? When I first met you, you hadn't accomplished half this. You had like a badge from Girl Scouts or something.
That was it. I had a dream. I remember meeting you, Ted, and we always had so much fun. We always had so many laughs. You were always a shining spot. Whenever I did press junkets, I'm like, thank God I get to talk to Ted. And I think it's because we had conversations.
That's right.
And we talked about life stuff, and you always made me feel at ease. And I think that's a gift as a journalist. And a lot of guys they ask you a question, girls and guys, and they're not even listening to what you say back. They're just looking at what their next question is. And you know it. You feel it when you're sitting there.
Yeah.
And you do it anyway. You go through the motions because that's what you need to do. But it's a gift. You should know that.
Now, I knew that you grew up just outside of Calgary in Springbank. I didn't realize that you played hockey as a young girl.
Well, I think playing hockey seems like a bit of a stretch. There was, you'd have 10 girls out on the ice, opposing teams, just in a pack, following the puck around. There wasn't too much finesse or passing. It was just 10 people moving from one end of the rink to the other. But we had so much fun. Our team was called the Springbank Sweethearts. A guy named Mr. Bertushny was our coach, and he had 3 girls on the team, Terry, Corey, and I forget what the other girl's name was. But I'm telling you, we had so much fun. I just remember the air in the arena, and, your favorite part of it was getting a pop and a old crappy chocolate bar out of the machine before you went home at the end of the day. My mom says, I'm going to get a hemorrhoid sitting in here watching these games. But it was fun memories. The arena's still there. It's funny when we filmed the TV show in and around where I live. And one of the episodes was filmed out, and we used the actual Red Dutton Arena. And I just thought, my God, had I been able to look forward 40 years to seeing all these trailers out here at a circus and a crew of 106 people shooting a television show at this hockey rink, I think my head would have fallen off.
When did you get into music? Because you played guitar. You played the trumpet as well, right?
Yeah, really. There was band in the 8th, 9th grade, and I couldn't help myself. I loved music, but for some reason they gave me the trumpet. I think there was a shortage of instruments that you could play. But yeah, I think I started playing Mom's guitar when I was 10 or 11. She had an old Horner guitar, and I was hooked. She had a little book that showed you where to put your fingers, and a bunch of sheet music. And I never looked back, Ted.
And you were like, 17 years old when you recorded your first single? But not
17.
not as
No.
Jann Arden.
Yeah, it was Jan Richards. It was called Get Ready for It. Never Love a Sailor. Jesus Christ.
What? Somebody in Calgary writing about sailing.
I went to Hawaii after high school with 3 of my comrades. We were 18 years old, and we met this guy named Denny Pate. Denny, if you're still alive, oh my God, he was so cute. And his friend's name was Roger. I remember them vividly. And of course, I wasn't cute enough for Denny. And he ended up going out with my very beautiful and mature friend, Elise. But we spent a week trailing around with them, but they were on a naval ship. And the ship was like docked in Oahu, and they were on leave for a few days. Anyway, that's my Never Love a Sailor story. It's a record. If you find it, it will be worth tens of dollars. So get your hands on that.
As long as it's still in the package and the plastic.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So at what point did you think to yourself, okay, you know what, I got to follow this path because there might actually be a career here for me?
I didn't think someone like me could go into music. I really didn't. Growing up in Springbank, Alberta, it was a really small community. There was 40 kids in my school, in my class.
Yeah.
And I didn't think it was for someone like me, but one thing led to the other. I was in the bars for 10, 11, 12 years out of high school, traveled around the interior of BC and up into the Yukon, and just horrible gigs, horrible hotel gigs, terrible bands. And then I met a guy named Dave Hart, who's no longer with us, but he just said, you should start playing some of your original songs. We were in a duo. And he said, I'll play piano behind you. And so I started playing my own tunes in some of these little nightclubs. And this guy started trailing around and following us. And his name was Neil McGonigal. And it's much, I don't want to make the story too long, but fast forward, he worked with me for a little while. And he said, I really think you can get a record deal. And we pitched for 4 or 5 years. Everyone in the world turned us down. And then I finally ended up getting a deal with A&M Records in 1992. I was almost 30 years old. So it wouldn't be a story that would repeat itself now.
When you're facing these rejection, one after another, I'm thinking 2 things would be climbing through my mind, eating away at my brain. Number one, how can there be so many stupid people in the industry? And am I really doomed?
Well, it was scary. I lived in a little basement suite. I was so broke. I was so tired of borrowing money from my mom and dad. I mean, get this. My parents had a little independent video store. And I used to work there part-time to kind of just have a bit of pocket money. And it was just like, oh my God, what's going to happen to me? And when I got the deal with A&M in 92, I just really, to this day, I still can't believe it, that it changed my life so much. So I guess it's just how it's meant to be. That's when the work really started. You think it's a lot of work to get a record deal, but once I had the record deal, I wasn't home for years. Yeah. And there was lots of unhappy times on the road where I felt really isolated and just missing out. There's always a catch to these stories. I think people think of being on the road as very glamorous, but it can be extremely isolating. And you feel like you're giving up some kind of a life. So it's a balance for sure.
Yeah. Was Insensitive the thing that propelled you to another level completely?
Yep. Everything changed. And
when you were writing the song?
I never wrote it. My neighbor did. And I heard, her name's Anne Laree. And she's still kicking around in Calgary somewhere, but she was a waitress and she, played her little chord piano once in a while. And I heard her, she hadn't even finished the song yet. She was still kind of sorting out. It was really slow, really depressing. And I said to her, I'd love to do a demo of that song. I obviously didn't have a record deal myself. This was even a precursor to having my record deal. And my friend Bob Foster and I remember him having a reel-to-reel, and we did a little demo. And Neil and I pitched it to Wilson Phillips and Anne Murray, and and all these people, we thought, this is insensitive, someone will cut this. Well, no one took the song. And then on my second record, I didn't even put it on my first record. I put it on Living Under June. And the rest, it really is history. I had a hit with Could I Be Your Girl, which was surprising. Mm-hmm. But when Insensitive took off, it went all around the world. It was a hit in Australia and South Africa and the States and all through Europe. So I think I left home and I didn't come back for 3 years on that song.
You know, one of the things that whenever I hear that song, I'm reminded of a situation, and I don't know if you recall this. This is going back 20-something years ago. You and I were both playing in a quote celebrity charity golf tournament. Peter Jacobson, the former pro, now broadcaster, was the MC, and he's a very, very funny guy. And he introduced you, and then he started talking about the song Insensitive, and I think he said it was something that is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard in my life.
Aw.
You remember that?
Vaguely. And I think what struck me at the time was that this was a man, a very popular sporting figure that was being quite earnest, talking about this epic breakup song. Or now, I don't even think the woman in the song ever had a chance to get broken up with. She went on one date and the guy never called her back.
But you know, I'll tell you something. Listening from a male perspective, if you've ever gone through a bad relationship, whether it be a short term or a long term, you listen to that song and you can gobble up a fair amount of guilt in about 3.5 minutes listening to that song.
Yeah. No, I think we all did pretty good jobs of hurting each other growing up, and we didn't know how to navigate relationships, especially when you were disinterested in somebody. I mean, now you just ghost people, you just block them on social media. But back in the day, you kind of had to pray that you didn't run into them at Woodward's or run into them on the street, or I don't know, God forbid, you didn't have call display, did you? Sometimes you picked up the phone and it was them again. How come you didn't call me?
Call display was the look in your neighbor's face that you shared a party line with.
Yeah, you have to be a certain age to remember the party line. Yeah. I think when Dad first moved us to Springbank, it would have been 71. 71. We shared a party line, I think, for one summer. And my mom said, "That's it. I can't stand it. We're getting our own line." And I think Dad saved about 90 cents a month on the fucking party line. So crazy.
I remember you did a bit when I was doing the morning show at CFRB, where you started talking about, as a young girl coming of age and having your first period and not wanting to admit what was going on, and how you started to hoard toilet paper so that you would make your own stuff.
I made them for a year. I had no dialogue of that nature with my mom, and I certainly wasn't going to say anything to my dad. I had 2 brothers.
Yeah.
I was 17 years old, so I was a late bloomer. And Dad would say, "Where is all the goddamn toilet paper going in this house? Jesus Christ." And meanwhile, I'm like, wing, ding, 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 wing, fashioning maxi pads. And it's being the only girl is always, it's a very trepidatious time in a family of brothers.
I guess it would be. I have a younger sister and I have an older brother. So, I think I know exactly.
Ask her sometime. Yeah. But I managed to survive it, and never mind that. Like I was in a really small school. I wasn't in the city. I don't know. We didn't have the internet. We couldn't go and get information from anywhere but your cousin Karen, and she's trying to talk you into tampons. And you're like, what? And then your other friends telling you that tampons are for married people, and you're like, what? You're just so confused.
Yeah, I guess you couldn't just go to Sam Drucker, the local guy at the general store, and ask him for his opinion either.
Well, I should have, but welcome to the podcast, everybody. I hope you're enjoying the conversation. You're with Ted Woloshyn and Jann Arden, and we're talking about periods.
Yes, we are. As we move into the second period here with Jann Arden, I want to talk about some of the other things that you've done. I mentioned there's just a litany of things that you've done. One of the things that you did was you were a judge on a singing competition. I've talked to a lot of musicians about their thoughts of these competitions and how some of them believe that you're setting people up for a failure, even though they may think that they're going to be succeeding.
Well, there's a bit of a caveat to that story. I was indeed a judge with Vanilla Ice, and I can't remember who the other guy was. He was like from a big rock band. We were judging groups of people like from offices that were competing to donate, I believe it was $10,000 to a charity of their choice.
Right.
So it was called Canada Sings. They went across the country, and it was like a group of firemen, a group of nurses, a group of teachers. And yes, we did have to judge these people, and there was a lot of broken hearts, at the end of the show when they had been working for 2 months to learn this dance routine and this song, and they didn't win. But I think it was Global that did the show. I can't remember. I probably will get slapped on the wrist for this, but I think they started giving even the people that didn't win also money to give to their charities. So they realized that they couldn't let these people go home without anything. But as to your question of judging singing competitions, very slippery slope. I mean, you're seeing in the last 20 years these cycles of picking complete people from obscurity and in a 14 or 15 week cycle catapulting one of these people into stardom. And now they have like one song from a singing competition and they're expected to record a record and get out on the road and tour. Well, what happened was 95% of these people you never heard from again, but a couple of them made it through. Kelly Clarkson comes to mind. Carrie Underwood. And, so there was a couple people that did survive the contesting. And even going back to the 70s, ABBA was part of the Eurovision Song Contest. So I can't shake a finger at contesting because there is exceptional things that rise out of those situations. And no, can you judge talent? No, but there are exceptions to every rule. ABBA, they weren't together that long, but here's a group of people that 40 years later just put out an album called Voyage that's now Billboard top 10, and they've been nominated for Grammys. I don't know. Talent is talent is talent.
Ted, in conversation with Jann Arden, will continue in a moment.
Well, let's head down to Tom's Place, 190 Baldwin in the heart of Kensington Market. Tom Mahalik is there. I mean, I know it's only February, which is beginning of February, but people are going to be planning for weddings right about now, I would think, huh?
Teddy, we're getting a lot of phone calls and a lot of requests. And my advice for everybody who's going to do a wedding this year, do it early. Do your shopping early. Do your research early. Start shopping for your wedding suits, your groomsmen suit, the beautiful tuxedos. You got to do it early on. It's never too early to be ready. And right now we're receiving all of our spring beautiful groomsmen suit, spectacular tuxedos. So right now the inventory looks like it's still strong. But don't wait. Don't wait. I'm telling you, all the guys are saying, well, I got time. You don't have time. You got to start shopping for your wedding suits right now, and there's no better place than Tom's Place.
You got it. 190 Baldwin in the heart of Kensington Market. Hey, let me take a moment to tell you about my friends at Helenda's. They are the meat people. I've been a fan of their products for years now, and without a doubt, they make some of the best sausage in Ontario. They are multiple award winners, having captured the Ontario's finest meat competition's coveted Award of Excellence on 3 occasions, in addition to dozens of individual product awards. Helenda's has also received the Grand Champion ribbon at the past 2 Royal Winter Fair's ready-to-eat meat snack competitions. So whether you're preparing a charcuterie board or a full-blown sit-down dinner for your friends or family, you'll find Helenda's award-winning products at fine meat shops throughout the province, now including selected Metro, Sobeys, Fortino's, and Foodland stores, along with their 7 Helenda's locations. Their barbecued kielbasa is my favorite. On a fresh bun with horseradish, it is out of this world. But don't just take my word for it. Judge for yourself. on your barbecue, in your kitchen, or straight from the refrigerator. Halenda's, the way sausage should taste.
And now back to Ted with special guest Jann Arden.
Jann Arden, who's television host and actress and singer-songwriter. As I mentioned again, the awards that you won, 9 Juno Awards. What do they mean?
Well,
is that just something that looks good on a poster?
I think to celebrate an industry is important. And I think to celebrate the arts is important. I do that. Where I kind of get caught up is, and the best song of 1988 goes to, there is no best of. So any of us that have been lucky enough to win an award, I know full well when I'm looking at it, it represents a piece of time, and I'm very proud of them, but it has no bearing on the quality of the work. The work is the work is the work. And it certainly didn't mean it was the best song. I mean, even the way people vote, and believe me, I've been involved in voting for many years in the Junos. And, I'll tell you right now, there's a lot of boxes that I ticked over the years. I had no idea who the people were, especially if I was dealing with best children's album or classical this or best jazz or, a lot of times I ticked a box of someone I'd heard of. And I'm being honest here, and everyone knows that. So you can't look at 85 categories and have this and be expected to listen to and be familiar with all the records that you're given to listen to. It's an impossibility. So
now, conversely, some of the other awards that you have received over the years, the Queen Diamond Jubilee member, you're a member of the Canadian Music Hall of Fame. That has to be really important.
The Hall of Fame means a lot because it's just the time I've spent, and I think it's being included in a group of people. I think there's 56 people in the Canadian Music Hall of Fame now, and I can't even believe that I'm in there. I am more proud of that than any other thing that I have been awarded with in my career. And I'm 59 years old. I almost feel like it was 20 years premature of getting it. But, and I know there are hundreds of people on a wait list that probably need to be awarded post-mortem, because they just are so deserving of how they carved space out for themselves in the Canadian music industry. But of course, when they're awarding one person on television every year, and maybe 3 others that aren't on the televised, you have to understand that there's other people that are put into the Hall of Fame that aren't on the telecast. And that's a little problematic for me too. But anyway, they're doing the best they can to get through a huge backlog of a lot of really deserving Canadians. But yeah.
I suppose the same could be said about Canada's Walk of Fame as well, which I believe that you deserve to be there. And I believe that there are a lot of other people who deserve to be there as well, but you can't induct 150 people a year.
No, you can't. So it's always catch up. And of course, every year that goes by, you have this new crop of young, talented people that are suddenly bursting on the scene. And in 20 years, they're going to need to be in there. So I know the Walk of Fame has had lots of financial difficulties over the years and trying to keep the whole idea going. And of course, what we face in this country is a lack of a star system.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to get people behind. It's like you have to go away and become big in the States before you are recognized here. You look at people like Brendan Fraser, Ryan Reynolds, Pamela, Lee Anderson. The list goes on and on and on of people that were very famous in the States, and then all of a sudden Canada's like, oh, but hey, they're from Burlington. Oh, hey, they're from Smithers, British Columbia. So then Canadians kind of perk up. But if you watch Canadian television, you'd be very hard pressed to name what these people's names were that are on these TV shows. And you recognize them because you've seen them for 30 years, but you have no clue what their name is. Mm-hmm. Why is that happening here? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Order of Canada.
Yeah.
Were your parents around when you got that?
No. No, you know what? My mom was. I think my mom was around. She's been gone 3 years. When did I get that? I don't know when I got that. Aren't I terrible? I have no idea. My dad was definitely gone. And the mother, as I knew her, would have been gone if it was 3 years ago. It might have been like a year before COVID hit. There's like before COVID and after COVID, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
But the Order of Canada celebrates doing something for your country. So I very much can appreciate that. You know, it's funny because 2 weeks before, I knew I was getting the Order of Canada because they let you know. And before the ceremony, I had kind of a run-in with the Conservative Party. It was before Jason Kenney was elected in Alberta, and I called him an effing turd on Twitter. And just, I don't like the man. I don't think a lobbyist should be running a province. He shouldn't be leading a province, never mind a parade, you know, or maybe it's the other way around. But I had done this on Twitter, and I had to get extra security on a book tour, and I was just bombarded. I was blocking hundreds of people every day that were supporting Jason. And, you know, in hindsight, I was like, probably shouldn't have called him that. But anyway, Bruce Allen, my manager, I phoned him up and I'm like, I don't know if this is going to be a problem for the Order of Canada, but I called Jason Kenney an effing turd on Twitter. And he goes, that's why they're giving you the Order of Canada. So that really made me laugh. I mean, it blows over as these things do in these news cycles, but I'm proud of that too. It's about contributing to your country, and I believe that I have. I think I have a loud, clear voice, and when I want to rattle something, and you know, I'll rattle it. I'm not going to sit quietly and let other people do the heavy lifting. I am going to get in there when I see a problem or when I want something to change, and I'm going to holler about it. That I have no problem with.
Well, it's a good thing that the pandemic didn't hit back when you had your first period, because you would have been accused of hoarding toilet paper like so many thousands were.
I wouldn't have made it. I would have been rolling up my gym shorts.
Jann Arden's latest LP is called Descended. It is her 15th studio album. It's a real pleasure chatting with you, Jann. I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on all the great success that you're enjoying.
Right back at you, Ted. Thank you for being so kind and supportive of me, and I look forward to many more conversations before you and I put our clogs on the back shelf.
I'll be calling you weekly.
Okay.
All the best.
Bye.
Thank you all for listening. We'll join you again next week.
The Ted Woloshyn podcast has been brought to you by Tom's Place. For the finest in men's clothing at unbeatable prices, it's Tom's Place at 190 Baldwin in the heart of Kensington Market. Tom's Place will suit you. And Helenda's, the meat people. Enjoy their award-winning products at selected Metro, Sobeys, Fortino's, and Foodland locations. Helenda's, the way sausage should taste. The Ted Woloshyn podcast is produced by Joey Roselli. Technical production by Paul Gatt. Music by Bike Thieves. I'm Becky Coles. Submit your questions and comments to ted@twmedia.ca.